My name's Chris Jaskiewicz, President and CEO of Icon Park, and we're so excited about our new carousel. And we love what it represents. It represents happiness and fun and just a new experience for so many children and families. And I really love the history of carousels and also our carousel. And the perfect person to describe the history is Pat Hoffman, who's been in this industry for 55 years and really is one of the nation's leading experts in amusement and attractions. So great to see you, Pat Hoffman. Love having you here. Tell us about the history of carousels.
I love to be here,
Thank
and
you.
I love carousels. I started out in this industry back in the late 60s, and I started a park in Ohio called Cedar Point. And I was fortunate enough that we had 5 antique carousels in the park. And I was in charge of the ride maintenance, the ride construction, and I got very familiar with the carousels and just love the history of them. Every park has a carousel. Some are chance, some are the antique carousels. The first carousel started in Germany in 1660, but it had live animals on it. It had donkeys and horses. The first actual mechanical carousel started 100 years later in France, and that was in 1760. And it was steam driven, which is really, really cool. After that, carousels came to America, and the first grand carousel was at Coney Island, and that opened up in 1875. It just is magnificent, and that carousel is still in existence today. And the carousel was the very first amusement ride that started this industry.
Let me ask you, Pat. So this thing is round, right?
Yes.
But I've heard that there is actually a beginning to carousels. Can you
Yes.
tell us about that?
Yes, there is. Every carousel has a lead horse. This is the lead horse on this carousel. This was carved by a gentleman by the name of, his last name was Spillman, and this was on a carousel in New York many years ago. That carousel is no longer around, but this horse was identical to that horse. It's just magnificent with all the details, and you think about what happened back in those days with the intricate carving and all that. It would take 5-6 years to build a carousel. Today it takes about 8 months to build a carousel like this.
So Pat, how do you know it's the lead horse?
Well, the lead horse always is very intricate in the way it's carved and painted, you know, with the figures on the side of it, all the flowers. You look at all the detail on the bridle and all the way back to the back. It's just beautiful. And by the way, the name of this horse is the fairy horse. And each carver would name the horses as they carved them.
Now, look at this. Look at some of this detail.
So this is, in my opinion, a very, very beautiful animal. This is a reproduction of the Philadelphia Toboggan Sea Dragon horse that went on a carousel back in the early 1900s. Hand carved in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania by a German carver. The kids just love this. Of course, we got a deer on here, which is just magnificent also. It's got the detail, the horns, all the jewels. Every carousel has a chariot on it, or 2. Most of them have 2. Some are more detailed. Some are actually horse-drawn. They'll have horses in front of them. It'll look like an actual chariot, and that's on some of the old hand-carved carousels. But this one happens to have 2 chariots on it, benches, and it really lends the ride for people to ride of all ages because of the benches as opposed to climbing on the horses.
So Pat, here's another example. I see a lot of detail here. It's one of the reasons it's just so fascinating to me. Is that an antelope?
Yes, it is an antelope. It's an African antelope. And of course, the African theme with the zebra. And look at the detail on this, the jewels and all the ropes and the carving, and on the side, the carving here, and this beautiful return tail and all. It's just a magnificent animal, and kids love this thing. This is another one they're going to run to as soon as the gate opens.
Normally, I think of horses on carousels, but here I see a bunny.
While chance carousels that, like we have here, a lot of them have the rabbit on there, they're bunny. But this was a copy of a bunny that came off of the Philadelphia Toboggan carousel many years ago. And it just so happens I have the same bunny in my collection in my office. Just love this animal.
So Pat, come here. I want to ask you about another one. That look at that. Looks like a painting. I mean, this is like a legitimate painting.
This is the flower horse, carved by the last name was Looff, L-O-F-F, and he did quite a few carousels that are still running in this country. But again, the detail on this is just magnificent. When you look at the cherubs, carvings in here, all the hand paintings, the flowers themselves.
All right, but Pat, this one is my favorite. Look at the Indian. homage to the original Native Americans.
Yep. So this is themed after Native American. And again, this would have been a Philadelphia toboggan horse originally, and it's been duplicated for this carousel. Now this is Chris's favorite, but my favorite is up ahead here.
Okay.
And the next horse is the Flying Mane Bradley and Kay horse. I just love this mane, like he's running through the fields, running through the pastures, but it has all these great jewels on it and all this magnificent painting and carving. Just a beautiful horse.
I mean, I loved the history lesson about the animals. I love your passion about the carousel. I really look forward to seeing children and families really learn about this and their eyes be wide open when they come and have the same kind of passion that you do. So thank you for the history lesson. And I also want to thank you for your personal leadership in helping us bring this ride here.
Well, thank you, Chris, and I've enjoyed every bit of this, and the history of these carousels is just, something that everybody needs to learn about, and I just can't wait to see kids get on here and their faces glowing and run into the horse and just enjoying themselves on the ride. So this is a really, really neat piece to add to Icon Park, and I really appreciate everything you've done to bring it to fruition.
Thank you, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you.